Economic development be noted. Those of that opinion will say aye.
Aye.
To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. I understand the next financial review members wish to debate is the financial review of the Ministry of Justice. Will members please turn to the Justice and Electoral Committee's report. The question is that the report of the Justice and Electoral Committee on the 2010-11 financial review of the Ministry of Justice be noted. The question is that the I call Tim McIndoe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Apologies for being slow on my feet. I just want to take a call, if I may, and commend the tremendous job that is being done by officials within the Justice Department, and in particular acknowledge the great start that our new Minister of Justice, the Honourable Judith Collins, has made since she took over this role. And it is significant, Mr. Chair, that our Minister has taken over a very demanding role because, of course, in the previous Parliament, and I also want to pay tribute to her predecessor, the Honourable Simon Power, this was an aspect of the government's legislation that was particularly demanding and particularly effective, and perhaps most importantly, particularly welcomed by the public of New Zealand. Because there is no question that for many, many years there has been a concern that we've had a justice system that has, to a large extent, marginalised victims and put far too much emphasis onto the rights of offenders. In a civilised society, of course, offenders have rights. But one of the most distressing things for victims in quite serious trials in New Zealand has been to find that they arrive at court only to realise that they are completely marginalised and in many cases re-traumatised by the experiences that they've been through. And so I just want to canvass a couple of the issues in the time that I've got available today to point out to the House just what significant progress is being made. Before the House at the moment, of course, is the Victims of Crime Reform Bill. And this is a very important piece of legislation that is going to ensure that victims of some of the most serious crimes in New Zealand are heard, have a chance to be listened to, particularly with the improvements to the victim impact statements that they are now able to submit, or going to be able to submit, and that also that they are assisted. One of the great achievements in the previous Parliament was the introduction of the offenders levy. And I point that out because our opponents on the other side of the House scoffed at it when we suggested it, mocked it as it went through the House, told us it wouldn't work. Well, look at the results. In its first year, the offenders levy collected double what was anticipated. And while it may not be a huge sum of money, we are talking about in the region of $2 million that is now available for victims of crime to receive counselling, assistance with accommodation costs when they have to move to a major centre in order to take part in a trial, and a number of other matters that are very expensive for them and just add to the huge hurt and suffering that they have all endured. And so I want to congratulate everybody who was involved in that initiative and say what a fantastic way forward it is, and I look forward to hearing that it continues to become more and more successful over the years ahead. We are, as a government, Mr. Chair, reforming our justice system to put a stronger emphasis on victims, because victims of crime find themselves caught up in the midst of our criminal justice system, not only through no fault of their own, but in circumstances that most of us absolutely shudder at the thought of. And to find that your family has been affected by one of the most gruesome crimes and then suddenly you are at the heart of a criminal trial is just the most appalling experience that all of us would naturally wish to avoid. So we are not only wanting to protect the interests of those victims and to make the system a little bit more friendly and supportive and sensitive to their needs, but we are also very much committed to building a safer New Zealand. So we've embarked on a comprehensive program of reform to protect our communities, prevent crime and put victims first. And I think it was a very appropriate step that the current Minister moved up from her previous role as Minister of Police and Minister of Corrections, because while she was exercising those responsibilities, which she also did with tremendous effect, she was able to advance the cause of looking after laws that in some cases needed considerable strengthening, give the police more powers, Now, as Minister of Justice, she's able to complete the picture and ensure that... Thank you, Mr Farfoy. I'm so pleased that Mr Farfoy is enjoying the speech, and I trust that in a moment he's going to rise to his feet and continue to sing the praises of the Minister, because well do those praises deserve to be sung, and I know that Mr Farfoy is an ideal candidate to do that. It is an important matter, and while it's good to have some humour in the discussion, it's also really important that we focus on law and order and justice initiatives. They are absolutely right at the forefront of this government's agenda because they matter so much to all New Zealanders.
Honourable Judith Collins.
Mr Chair, can I take a moment to thank the member who's just resumed his seat?